Greetings. I am William Greenway, a professor of philosophical theology at Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary. And this is a brief introduction I've been asked to give to myself and my approach to our topic for the Tough Talk, Queer Theology in the Church at First Presbyterian Church, Fort Wayne, Indiana. The first thing to say is that I am cis-gendered, not queer, but an ally. For that reason, I will quite appropriately and willingly be playing second fiddle to Remington Johnson, a trans woman, throughout our presentation and discussion. While I'll be playing second fiddle, however, I can contribute expertise in philosophy, ethics, and Christian theology. In addition, while identity facilitates unique insight into issues related to identity, if one only allows a single identity to participate in the discussion, only cisgendered white men or only trans white women, there is vulnerability to systemic distortion. So it is always wise to incorporate a diversity of perspectives into any complex discussion in the social sciences and humanities. Now, for more than a decade, in a series of books, articles, and lectures, and inspired by the Jewish philosopher Emmanuel Levinas, I have been developing a post-naturalistic philosophical theory I call Agape Theory. I argue Agape Theory is wholly continuous with the essence of Christian and Jewish faith, and I suggest it is continuous with the essence of faith in all the world's wisdom traditions. I will address questions about queer identities and queer theology in the terms of Agape Theory. So let me very quickly sketch Agape Theory here. See my books if you want a thorough unpacking. So at the heart of Agape Theory is the proposal that we think in terms of three incommensurable families of language games or vocabularies. The language games of the sphere of nature, the language games of the sphere of poetic eyes, and the language games of the sphere of agape. The sphere of nature is the sphere of the vocabularies of the natural and social sciences. These vocabularies interpret reality insofar as it is most accurately understood in terms of descriptions of things in causal relation. The sphere of poetic eyes is the sphere of the vocabularies of existentialism, of free will, authenticity, and of personal responsibility. These vocabularies interpret reality insofar as it is most accurately understood in terms of freely self-creating eyes. The sphere of agape is the sphere of the vocabularies of spirituality and ethics. These vocabularies interpret reality insofar as it is most accurately understood in relation to our having been seized by agape, by passionate concern, for every face of every kind, including our own. So, that's it for my super condensed sketch of Agape Theory. That was painful to do that briefly. Again, I've expanded it and continue to expand it in other works. Now, let me very quickly, however, make two, and this is quick too, applications of Agape Theory to queerness to kind of set up our discussion. First, for Agape Theory, there is ethical confusion in relation to queerness because there is confusion between what is normal in scientific descriptive vocabularies about things and their relations in the sphere of nature, right, where normal equals common. For instance, for humans, a height of 5'8" is normal, and a height of 7'4" is not normal. So a confusion between what is normal in the scientific vocabularies of the sphere of nature, confusion between that and between what is normative in the moral vocabularies of the sphere of agape, where, for instance, abuse of women whether or not it is common / normal in a society is wrong because it unjustifiably violates faces. Second, predominant modern affirmation of queer identity and critiques, in other words, queer critiques of dominant culture and theory, predominant modern affirmation of queer identity and critiques is rooted in an appeal to rights. Modern rights discourse, however, consistent with metaphysical naturalism and materialism, and remember, my agape theory is post-naturalistic. All right, so rights discourse, however, consistent with metaphysical naturalism and materialism, whether 1.0 or 2.0, begins from the amoral Hobbesian state of nature, with its war of all against all, which makes it atomistic, egocentric, and corrosive of justice and ethical concerns. Agape theory's affirmation of queer identity and its critiques is rooted in an appeal to the reality of agape, not rights. Agape, it begins from our having been seized by agape, passionate concern for every face of every kind, and affirms queer identities because such affirmation is consistent with being seized by agape for every face. This means that at root, I am not an ally because I want to protect the rights of people who are queer. At root, I am an ally because it is loving and so good to affirm people who are queer, and a violation of agape to reject or denigrate them. And of course, this will involve, derivatively, however, advocating for their legal rights. All right, a final note. The single most significant philosophical juncture in the emergence of queer theory was the publication of Judith Butler's seminal treatise, Gender Trouble. If you'd like to hear me riff at some length on gender trouble, see my YouTube video, and you can see the address there, or you can go to YouTube and put in that title precisely, and the video will come up. This is about a 50-minute video, so it's a more sustained engagement with this text. In the video, I'm mainly concerned about unpacking essential elements of Butler's argument. My application of the categories of agape theory is indirect and only comes into play near the end of the video. Okay, that's it for now. I look forward to our time together.